Yes, Stephanie, we are here in East London, the D-Day for the newly elected ANC NEC members. This is the first meeting they will be attending after they were elected in December at the ANC's national conference. Of course, we do not have confirmation as of yet on what's really on the agenda, but talks are doing the round that, of course, there are three things on the list. One will be the voting of the NWC members, another one voting on the national spokesperson. They would choose that for the ANC, and another they will discuss the statement for the Jan 8th, which obviously now is on the January 13th. But speculations are also rife, Stephanie, that a recall of President Jacob Zuma is also likely to be on the agenda. But that's something that we can go on and talking about it. Like I mentioned, it's a speculation, but let's see, because nobody will be stopped there at the NEC meeting. There will be people making their proposals, but whether or not that will be discussed is a big question mark. And as the saying goes, I would have loved to be a fly in that room when the meeting starts. Media has been invited for a photo opportunity around 12 o'clock noon. And as the norm goes, usually what happens at the ANC NEC meeting, that SG of the party is likely to brief the media, informally brief the media on what is going to take place. But to discuss further, we have the group political editor of ANN7 and TNA, Sifiso Matlango. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Sifiso. Can you tell us, the party, ANC, and the party president, Cyril Ramaphosa, days leading up to the event, and even yesterday, he emphasized on the word unity. Now, speculations are rife, like I said, on recall of President Jacob Zuma. That may come up. Some of the people that have been against President Jacob Zuma is likely to bring this up. Do you think Cyril Ramaphosa is likely to take the chance of going ahead with this, or will they settle for unity?
Well, good morning, Calden, and good morning to all the viewers of ANN7. It is very likely that the notion, this particular recall motion is pushed this morning as the NEC convenes for the first time after its election. But I think what will override the program today will be the election of the new party spokesperson. Zizi Kodwa's term has ended as the national spokesperson of the ANC. He's made it very clear that he did not wish to stand as the spokesperson. However, he is a member of the NEC. According to the constitution of the ANC, the national spokesperson must be a member of the NEC. So that will, possibly be done today. And also the election of the NWC, which is very interesting because the NWC are the people who have the ability or the possibility to become ministers in future. The NWC are usually the top 10 or top 20 people in the NEC. The election goes like this. You elect people, and if you have the highest votes in the NEC's election, you go to the NWC usually. We know that Zweli Mkhize, Baleka Mbete, Zizi Kodwa, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma fall part of the NEC list. They are in the top 20. So that will be very interesting. But however, we should not rule out the fact that someone might raise their hand and call for a motion to remove President Jacob Zuma. He will not be attending the meeting except if he is an ex-officio member who comes only by invitation. He's not part of the NEC anymore. And if someone raises their hand, that notion cannot be cut. No one can disband, for instance, Mr. Lamola or Mr. Derek Hanekom from pushing this motion through and suggesting that President Jacob Zuma must leave. However, because of this new theme of unity, and if we judge this theme of unity by what the president of the ANC, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, was saying yesterday, it is clear that they have determined, as the top six and the NEC, to unite the party. They have really determined themselves to look into the future of the ANC, to look into the future of the Congress. And, that will be unity. However, unity, Calden, must be sacrosanct. It cannot be a unity that only looks to, preserve President Jacob Zuma for a week or for a month, and then push him out as soon as Mr. Ramaphosa has gained power. The precedence that was set in the year 2007 when Thabo Mbeki was fired, is biting the ANC because there's an overarching edge and a desire to push out President Jacob Zuma, to hire Mr. Ramaphosa as the head of state at this point. But that will also be the future of the ANC because Mr. Didi Mabuza will also suffer at the same fate. In Polokwane, just to add there, the results were deemed 60-40. However, in this election of Nazareth, it was 179 difference, which means Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa only beat Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma by 179 votes.
Very marginal.
If you minus the 86 votes and all the PECs that were disbanded, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma might have won the day. So it really shows that this is a thin win. And Mr. Ramaphosa has got to skate very carefully into the factions of the ANC if he wishes to win them. If he were to attempt to push Mr. Jacob Zuma out today or this week or this month, he will lose a lot of favor in the ANC, particularly in KZN, and that might collapse this party. So he's got to tread very carefully. This unity that they speak about should not just be a term. It should not just be a tool of propaganda. It's got to be a reality.
But Sifiso, coming back again, we're talking about two centers of power. Some people in the ANC, the NEC members that I've been talking to say that, as much as the newly elected leaders can proclaim that unity is the only way for ANC to go forward in order to gain back all the votes or the supporters that they've lost from the local government elections, they are emphasizing that ANC cannot, Cyril Ramaphosa will not have any say if President Zuma still remains the head of the state. So again, going back to yesterday, where President of ANC gave his speech and also meeting, a lot of people, even in KZN. So this newly elected top leaders going from one province to another, especially KZN, where President Zuma has a good hold, where you saw the two factions of the ANC, Sikle Zigalala and Senzo Mchunu, coming together. And top six, some of the top six now changing the tone, becoming a softer on Cyril's side. What do you read from that?
Well, the reality is people are going to be softer on Mr. Ramaphosa because he is the head, and everybody worships the rising sun, as the Hindu proverb goes. So people are going to soften up to him. He is the man in charge. He's the new sheriff in town. He is the head of Luthuli House, followed by Mr. Mabuza. But the most powerful position in the ANC at this point is the position of Secretary General, Ace Makashula. People are going to move in on Cyril. They're going to show him love. They're going to do him a lot of favors, because he possibly will be the head of state should the ANC win in 2019. But the question remains, why the rush? Why would Cyril want to move in now? Why would he want to gain power at this point and not wait for his day when President Zuma will step down? If he pushes him out, it will suggest that history is repeating itself, and Cyril himself will suffer at the same fate. The theme of unity, as I was saying, Calden, should not be deemed as a tool for events, propaganda. It should not just be a campaign rhetoric, but it should be a living organ in the ANC. And unity for him, should embrace other factions, particularly a competitor of his, Miss Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. If I was Cyril on his last speech at Nazareth, I would have invited Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma to the stage as a sign of unity. But however, we're talking about politics here. The guns are out for President Jacob Zuma, no matter how much they tried to disobey our knowledge of that. They might try and seem as united as ever. That unity is not for real. That unity is not sacrosanct. It does not exist. Mr. Didi Mabuza gave them the impression and the indication that he was on Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma's side, and that turned out not to be the deal. So the KZN, the Free State and the Northwest are not particularly happy with him at this point, and history may come back to haunt him. So the reality of the matter is, for this conference, unity may seem to be the theme, but sooner or later, if not today, at the next NEC conference, someone will call on President Jacob Zuma to stand down. There will be a then Mabuza and Ramaphosa faction, which still exists in the ANC, and we will see that history repeats itself. For this particular conference, I think unity will be the theme because the Eastern Cape is a poor province. You know, they will try and win the hearts of the Eastern Cape communities. Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa is new at this job, so he really needs, you know, the factions to come together for him. He really needs the branches, and so he'll begin a rhetoric that isn't his political voice.
Yeah.
He's never spoken about free education before. He's never spoken about radical socio-economic transformation. And he's never particularly spoken about the expropriation of land without compensation. But in the last week or so, he was very fluent in speaking about the expropriation of land. And people need to ask themselves why. And I believe it's because he is trying to warm up to the ideal and the manifesto of President Jacob Zuma and Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, because he's got to win their factions. If Mr. Ramaphosa ceases to win the heart of KZN, it will come back to haunt him, because he does not necessarily have the branch support that President Jacob Zuma has. In closing, if a vote of no confidence in future would be called against Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, considering, of course, that he would be the head of state, will he have the branch support to keep him within the ANC? If one day Mr. Ramaphosa is president of the country and the NEC decides that he should go, will he have enough support in the branches of the ANC to keep him in office? I don't think so. So at this point, if he's very strategic, he'll attempt to win the branches and the hearts of the people in the homelands, which was a Zuma stronghold. He'll try and win the monarchs. He'll win traditional leaders. He'll win the hearts of religious leaders. He'll win the hearts of, you know, people on the grassroots of the ANC. Those people might become his branch support when he needs them. Unfortunately, at this point, he does not have that. And I think strategy serves him right to say the ANC needs to go back to its founding manifesto of being the party of the people, because an ANC leader can only govern if he is at the heart of the people, and that's the only way he'll survive.
Yes, but Sifiso, that's what he's already trying to do. Yesterday in his speech, if you see, when he was talking to community members and when he visited the royal family, that's what he did. He was saying why they are going back, ANC, they're meeting the traditional leaders, the royal families. His reason for visiting a lot of community members, why he was doing that, to say is that it's a new ANC. They want to leave all the bad things in the past and move ahead, move forward, so that ANC can gain back all his support and once again rise, in the country. So, but then, Sifiso, you know, I wish we, like I said, we could be this fly that's been distracting us throughout our life. I wish we could transform into that little fly into that room where the ANC NEC will be meeting for the first time. Stephanie, it is 12 o'clock. Hopefully we will get to speak to the SG of the ANC. Like Sifiso said, he is one of the most important person in the top 6. So he will be hopefully giving us the agenda, or what's really on the agenda of the ANC NEC meeting.